Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Confessions of a Catholic Mama. I'm so glad you're here today. If this is your first time tuning in, this podcast is a cozy space for encouragement, connection, and real life reflections on faith and motherhood. In this episode, I shared a bit about my journey and why I started this podcast. And today, I'm excited to continue that story. We'll dive into Getting to Know Me Part 1 because it is a little long. And my hope is that as you listen, you'll feel reminded that you're not alone. When I think back into my childhood, I realized just how much of my faith journey started long before I even understood it. Because I was born into a family that didn't have the sacrament of marriage. So God's grace was not there. During the editing process, I wanted to take a moment and just pause about this because I mentioned God's grace was not there. What I meant was the grace of a sacrament. So we as Catholics, we truly believe of a sanctifying grace that comes with the sacrament of marriage. So having all of that. So having a particular sacramental grace. And in general, we always have God's grace no matter what. And so that was just a correction that I wanted to make everyone. And thank you. God, as a great heavenly Father that He is, was present in many ways. We had images, I remember, of Jesus around the house, of Mary. We would talk about God from time to time. And I do remember that I was afraid, but not terrified, that's for sure. Um, it wasn't what I would call a traditional Catholic upbringing, but those small seeds made a difference. As I grew up, those gaps in faith and formation definitely shaped me, and I remember being really insecure during middle school, exposed to things at such a young age that I wasn't really ready for. Who is? And yet, looking back, I can honestly say it wasn't nearly as intense as what children face today, with the whole push of gender ideology being treated as the norm. I was naturally a rebel, always fighting with my mom and just wanting to be out with friends. But I do thank God now that my mother was strict in her own way. She set boundaries, and even though I didn't like them or understood them at the time, those boundaries did protect me. I see now how easily things could have gone wrong without them. And that strict love is something I am deeply grateful for today as I'm a mother myself. I remember during my teen years, a big shift happened. We had to move from California, and that really did mark me. I had so many friends at my old school, but the area we lived, it wasn't safe. So my family got us in a better school, in a better district. But we used a relative address. It worked for a while, but I was tired of the lie. I never liked having to explain it to or hide where I lived. I remember that innocently I gave out my relative's address to a friend of mine, and she ended up going to visit me. And so then I remember they called us, and we had to go and hurry. And I was scared, and I remember that we had to be there. And then I was told never to give the address away. And yeah, it was not fun at all. Um, so when we finally moved, I was really relieved. Things were simpler. I admit I was really excited about the little things like being able to ride the school bus and even having an indoor locker at high school. And I know it sounds funny, but those things felt like a really big deal because I wouldn't have those things in California. And for me, it was like, yay, I'm like that one person in that movie that has a locker, or like that one person that is able to ride the bus. So for me, it was not really boring. I actually liked it because we ended up living like in the outskirts, kind of like in the mountain, and it was a really long ride. Yes, there were moments when it got a little bit dull, but for the most part, I actually did like it. But going back to church, still wasn't really a priority in my home. Culturally, it was. I had received all of my sacraments. I remember that we had many of my friend groups that we started doing the confirmation class together, but then in the end, I was the only one that received the sacrament. And deep down, I just knew it was something I had to do. And being the type A personality I am for some things now, I know that once I set my mind to it, I will follow through. Now, looking back too, I really see how God's grace was with me even then, keeping me from going completely astray. Because during high school, of course, you can do so many things, and it was so easy for me to like go out at night or to like just what is that called? To like be out at night, without anyone knowing. But I never thought that I could do it, so I just didn't do it. And even in the seasons when I felt lost, there was always this desire in me to be close to God and to go to church. I remember when I started driving, I would go to mass by myself. And yes, like, don't get me wrong, there were moments when, as a family, we would go. Um, and I can't really remember like a lot of things, but I do remember like I did attend mass alone quite a few times. And I even when I was in third grade, I begged my mom to let me join the parish children's choir. It was in a local area, and of course, kids can be cruel, and I got made fun of because I was from public school instead of private. But I didn't understood what that meant and why it mattered at the time, so I just let it go. I just knew that I was doing something that I loved, and back then I had a voice. Now I don't. And so being in choir was like a huge deal for me. And so, yeah, later on when I was prepping for confirmation in Oregon, we have moved, fresh to this new state. I joined the choir again. I had so much fun, but I was really self-conscious because, I was entering puberty and all that. And I raised the podium, the music stand really high to hide my face while I sang because I would see some people from school and I was like, oh, I forget that this is not a city, this is a small town. And so, yeah, everything is small. I also remember I remember my first confession, and it was so nerve-wracking for me. I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. So I don't even remember what I said. But honestly, I can't even recall much more than that because after those years, life just moved so fast. Before I knew it, I was 17 and then 20, and then church slowly faded from my priorities. It was still there, like, oh, it's so important, but it's not something that I had to go actually do, to attend mass or to do any of those things that it's important for us in our faith. So when I moved away to college, it was a whole new chapter for me. Getting accepted felt like a huge accomplishment, and I remember feeling really proud, like I had achieved something very big because I never thought that I would actually be able to go to college. But at the same time, life suddenly got a lot harder. I was juggling work and school, and even though it was exhausting, I remember those nights when I was just so tired. I had to actually crawl because my legs just couldn't do it anymore. I kind of liked it because I was constantly learning so many new things, meeting new people, and of course, you're in a pivotal moment, being so young that you're just wondering all these things, right? And I was exposed to different perspectives, different people, and that gave me joy, even if it also meant that I was always busy and running on empty. I remember I was just really exhausted. So looking back, those years taught me responsibility and the value of hard work. Skills that became really important as I stepped into adulthood because as soon as I graduated from my master's, I was in the real world, and let me tell you, it was even tougher. Spiritually though, I was all over the place. I would visit different churches for different circumstances. So I remember like at first I enjoyed it, but again, it was because I loved meeting new people and I was really extrovert. I was so outgoing, and being part of just different communities really just helped. But deep inside, something was missing. I can't even fully describe it. I just never felt like I was home. And so no matter where I went, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't complete, like wasn't fulfilling. So there was a couple of experiences during college that really turned me off from church for a while. One of them happened at a Spanish speaking church. I had my rosary hanging from the car window, which is very culturally. It wasn't because I would pray the rosary, but just culturally and very normal. And as soon as the girl saw it, that I went to that church, she made a negative comment about Mary. And even though at the time I didn't really have a personal relationship with Mary or know much about the Catholic teachings, something about her words really hit me hard inside. I don't know what it was, but it just didn't feel good. So I decided to leave and never went back. And they kept, because they had my number, which then I'm like, I would never give my number away ever again because they kept calling and calling. But they were really nice, except that what the comment the girl made, which I don't remember what it was exactly, it just didn't really sound good at the moment. And I'm like, no, this is not going to be a place for me. Then later, I found out that it wasn't even a Catholic church at all because I was so ignorant of so many things. And so I didn't know that Protestant churches meant they're not Catholic. I thought every church was Catholic church. And so, yeah, I know. But it was a Protestant denomination. It was in Spanish, and the people were really great. But I stopped going. And then there was another time, and this was in English. It was on campus, and there was a service, as they call it. At first, I loved it. The students were so welcoming. I remember the energy was exciting, and the people seemed genuinely happy to be there, and everyone was just happy. But when they asked about me, I casually said I was quote unquote Catholic. The moment I said that, I will never forget this. One of the girls that had been talking with me, she was super, super kind and excited to get to know me. She completely changed from overly friendly to cold in an instant. And I just remember saying, okay, I'm done here. Like, that was enough for me to be pushed away. And I think it was just God telling me, okay, this is not the place for you, go. But again, like seeing all of those students, I mean, young adults just wanting and being, knowing now, craving for the word of the Lord, it's good. It's a good thing to do, especially at such a liberal college that I went to. Um, so I'm gonna stop here because it is a little long, and now I'm entering into what happened in college, and there's more there that I do want to make it into part two. That's a little glimpse into my childhood, teen years, and the start of my college journey. There's so much more, and I'll say that for the next episode because, as you can tell, I don't want it to be super long. So, again, I want to thank you for being here with me today, for listening, and for sharing this space together. My hope is that little by little you'll get to know me, and through my story, maybe see glimpses of your own. Until next time, she loves, she serves, she's mama.